Archives of Prasar Bharati presents a timeless treasure of golden era.
There has been one person who has been a dancing diva looming in the Indian horizon for more than 50 years. In fact, it has been much more than that, because even though she had Arangetram in 1961, she had been dancing much before that. There's also one face which also makes people's heads turn, whether it is Kashmir or Kanyakumarika, it is Kutch or Kamrup. And that person and that face belongs to Sonal Mansingh. Sonal, if I may ask you, that in these long 50 years, which is half a century and covers 2 generations, what has been your overview in the dance world? What have you been seeing in the dance scenario?
50 years is golden jubilee.
Right.
I'm of course older than that, but I was very fortunate to have seen Bala Saraswati in her heydays, to have learned from Gauri Amma, to have stayed in the house of Bhanumati in Kumbakonam and danced there, to have studied Natya Shastra with Dr. T. N. Ramachandran. So I have seen generations of dancers and gurus. Rukmini Devi, who was a house guest many times with my grandfather being governor. That was the time when we spoke of 4 dance styles, just 4: Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Kathakali and Manipuri.
Okay.
And suddenly in the 60s, a new dance style called Kuchipudi came in. And I think it was Indrani Rahman who introduced it to the large audiences, especially in North India and abroad. And a lot of people, I remember, found it difficult to pronounce and understand Kuchipudi, Panipudi, Alupudi, Halwapudi, what. So even today I find that people don't connect the name unless you explain that it's the name of a village.
Right.
Then came in Odissi, in the popular arena of dance.
Yeah.
And like that we added Mohiniyattam at a later stage, although it had been there, but recognized. And the latest entry was Satriya in our very recent past. So one was of course the addition of dance styles and the expanding horizon and canvas of dance forms, classical, traditional, Shastriya dance forms. Second, of course, the changing colors and the changing character identities of the dance styles.
Yes.
Kudiyattam, for example, nobody knew what was Kudiyattam, although it's a theatre, dance theatre like Kathakali.
And one of the oldest.
The oldest in India at least.
Quite true.
But till recently, Kudiyattam was not known. Not heard of. Now that is a very interesting thing, that while we have accepted Kathakali within the format of classical traditional dance styles, Kudiyattam is still somewhere hanging between theatre and dance. So like Kathakali is a dance theatre. Anyway, so what I'm very pleased about is that I was born at the right time, that I could be the golden bridge between that generation and my own generation and the following generations. And I've seen that entire scene in a very beautiful way. I think I must say that I've tasted and relished the richness of the dance forms, of the gurus who gave so much to the dance, and the great dancers, Shanta Rao in her heydays, Kamala Lakshman, Guru Rauni Menon, Kunju Nair, Kunju Kurup, Kathakali teachers, Guru Amobi Singh of Manipuri. Yes, and Vedantam Satyanarayan Sharma, whom I brought for my festival, of my center's festival. He came to Delhi after 11 years in the early 80s. So I am very happy that I've seen the gamut.
These are legendary names that you mentioned.
Yes.
Right from Rukminidevi Arundel and Bala Saraswati up to Vempati Chinna Satyam. But in this changing scenario that you so brilliantly mentioned, how have you found the audience taste growing and changing and shaping up? Was audience prepared to accept these changes? Was audience available to have these new forms of dance emerging? How did you find that?
I think audiences are always very eager to taste something new.
Okay.
Although the traditions in India and the idea of newness is not the same as the American idea of newness.
Yeah.
You know, there it is in the West, what's new? And here we say, what is new in that same gamut, in that same story, what is new? So even if you read Mahabharata 100 times, the 101st time you are bound to find a new point, a new element, a new view. So that is new for us. And I think in India, audiences have always relished the old with the new, and new within the old. And therefore, it has been a very slow transition. It has not been a jerky transition into the newness of today, of the contemporary world. At the same time, I must say that so far we are lucky that the core has remained intact so far.
Okay.
That the core ideas, the core values, the core aesthetics of our dances have remained. The resonances are there, the connections are there, the reference points are there. Even today, with all the newness and the contemporary modern dance, group choreographies coming in, a lot of things are happening. Still, I think large part of audiences, in fact everyone, young and old, connect with something beautiful about Krishna. You know, the minute you stand, there is a connection made. Internal connection. The minute you are talking about, you just say, and people are feeling that uddatta, automatically their breath go up. Now what is this? I mean, the minute you do this, you are thinking of that one. The minute you do this, they say Ram. So these connections are still there. And therefore, with all the changes with the internet, dance classes being held, people sitting here are teaching in Boston and Australia and whatnot, with the stage techniques coming in, a lot of gimmicks coming in, a lot of props coming in, a lot of, what shall I say, ideas and stories from other parts of the world coming in. All this is fine, as long as it is recognizable as Indian and transformed or translated through our language.
What bothers me a little is that when you are talking about the core values that have remained, we are talking in terms of initiated audience who understands and realizes and appreciates those core values. But you have been abroad literally thousands of times. Do you find also uninitiated audience who have to be specially introduced to this kind of Indian themes, Indian ideas and Indian core values?
I'll tell you something very beautiful, because when we say initiated and uninitiated, I think they both exist cheek by jowl, side by side, even in India. I was dancing in 1997 now. I've danced in South America very often. I love South America. In Argentina, for example. I'll give you the specific example.
Please.
Within my repertory that evening in Buenos Aires, in the Opera House, was the choreography called Mary Magdalene, Magdalena Mariam, the Vallathol poem on Mary Magdalene. And there is always, of course, a little introduction, like with every item and with every dancer. After the performance, I remember the dressing room was on the first floor, so ovations and everything over, and the flowers and whatnot. And then I was taken up to my green room, which was on the first floor. So ambassador and his wife and others were waiting there. Also waiting was the chief of the Catholic, I think it was the cardinal or archbishop or someone, with all his retinue and the big cross and all. And when I entered, I did namaskar to all, and he came and he knelt in front of me. He kissed the hem of my costume. He took my hand, and as I've seen them kiss the ring of the Pope, he kissed my hand and was in tears. And he looks up and he asks me in Spanish, he says, I saw Christ. And they translated, I could understand. I said, thank you. He said, are you Christian? In Spanish. His second question. And I raised him up and I said, no, I'm Hindu. And he immediately said, but how? How did you, And then I told our embassy translator to very carefully translate what I said. I said, please tell him, for me, Christ and Krishna are not two different beings. They speak the same language, they portray the same idea, they give me the same joy and spiritual bliss. So when he said that, he again wept, hugged me, and I mean, it was a scene out
Emotional
of
experience.
It was a scene out of a novel or something. But things happen like that. So I'm just telling you that initiated, non-initiated, when there is truth and honesty in the art, it communicates, it touches.
May I ask you, say for Japan, normally we call them inscrutable Japanese, but what was your experience in dancing in Japan?
Oh, I've enjoyed it each time. Because the acute sense of aesthetics, acute.
Very acute.
Oh my God! I mean, it's just even the magazine that they bring out here from the Japan Foundation, I preserve them because on each page, even the picture of a golden leaf fallen at the time of autumn on a rock. Oh my God! This is a thing of beauty. So they appreciate not only the perfection, but the beauty of the form, the beauty of the expression, because they are inscrutable.
Yes.
But we reach them. And you won't believe again, you bring out all these anecdotes from me.
Please do.
1970, the Expo 70 in Osaka.
Yeah.
So I'd taken my Bharatanatyam troupe with me. And Bharati Shivaji was one of my junior dancers then. And every day there used to be a queue to meet us and take autographs and pictures. And every day we faced the same questions. Operation? I didn't understand the first time. What they meant was, where did you get your eyes operated to make them big? Because they're chinky, no?
Yes.
And the beauty, as I was saying, is in their appreciation of beauty and of aesthetics and of the bhava. So Japan has been a very, very beautiful experience for me, and I met the great Buto master. He was then already 92. This was about 10 years ago in, what is that called? Yokohama.
Okay.
His son came and picked me up, and I went there. I spent the whole day. The old man put on his makeup and his hat and his flowing garb to dance for me his own composition in Buto.
Lovely.
And gave me apricot wine to drink, and we had dinner and everything. So Japan is very special.
It is they who called you the dancing Mansingh.
That was Asahi Shimbun.
How did that happen? Yeah.
That was the Osaka 70 Expo, when the Crown Prince Akihito, who is now emperor, and his wife, they were visiting the pavilion. So they asked me to, they gave me 9 minutes, they meaning the Indian ambassador and the protocol.
Yeah.
9 minutes I danced to the time, and then I did my namaskar and all, and I was brought down to meet them. They got so interested, they asked me so many questions. What is this? Well, this was flower and that was that. And Michiko, who is now the empress,
Okay.
she asked me about my family, whether I was married, whether I had children, how long I'd been dancing, and looked at my costume. And said, will you come and come to the palace? I said, not this time, I have to go back, but next time. It never happened. But half an hour they stayed. So next day, there was a big banner headline, front page in Asahi Shimbun, the most famous newspaper from Japan.
Yes, that's the most important.
Dancing Mansingh in Japanese. Dancing Mansingh holds whatever.
Yeah. Bringing you back to India.
Yeah.
You give your life and soul to dance in terms of planning, in terms of working out, in terms of giving it a local habitation and a name. How do you take up a theme when you create them? What is the mystique of your creativity?
Very big question.
But we are all interested to know.
Yeah. I actually, to tell you the truth, I've been trying to understand this process, the mystique of creation, of creativity.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we have given the title of Nataraj to Shiva. We haven't called him Vaidyaraj, Geetaraj, Netaraj, Kaviraj, but Nataraj. Because the dance sits at the apex of all arts, physical, spiritual, emotional, aesthetic, all the dimensions come together. And in our individual journey, initially, of course, you learn from gurus, and we perform that for X number of years, depending on the growth, the indicator of your inner growth.
Yes.
Comes when that hunger begins to gnaw at your insides, and you just have to do something with it, and that hunger slowly grows and never lets you go. Now, whether it's a mystique or whether it is what, I don't know. Sometimes the idea has been there, like a seed sown from bits of conversation, from something you have read, something you have seen, a film, a song, whatever. And it sprouts much later.
Yes. Once you said that Draupadi remained with you as an idea for 5 years. How did it grow with you, to take just one case?
Yeah.
And how did you visualize it eventually?
See, I have been reading epics and Puranas from my childhood in Gujarati, in Hindi, and because I've special interest in Sanskrit, I have read quite a bit in Sanskrit also. The point is that I'm also somewhat of a, if you want to label me, feminist.
Okay.
And that runs in my family. Even my father's father was a feminist.
Was he?
Yes. He was a Gandhian, freedom fighter, one of the first 5 Indian governors in 47, and a leader in his own right. But he just said the women have to be given greatest respect, and he set up some things for me and my sister, nothing for my brother. He said he can look for himself. So I fell in love with the character of Draupadi. A very inscrutable character in one way, like all great characters are. At another level, she speaks in so many ways to men and women. Most men find her intimidating, Indian men. Most women, Indian women, find her beyond the pale of their understanding. I've spoken to quite a few. And the two general answers to any question, who was Draupadi, was, because I did a lot of inner and outer research and thinking, the usual answer would be, oh, she was disrobed in the court.
Yes.
Second point, because of her, the Kurukshetra war happened.
Yes.
I was amazed how little people have been able to understand or even try to understand Draupadi. Of course, she is very difficult. So she became a kind of a friend for me from my very early years.
Okay.
And I love this idea of her being a Sakhi to Krishna. You know, the relationship between her and Krishna is of Sakha and Sakhi,
True.
equal friends. She is not her lover, she is not her sister, mother, devotee. No, she is the Sakhi, and one and only Sakhi. How great she must be. And at her bidding, Krishna does things. Not once, but many times.
Many times.
And she's the one who's well versed in literature. She's a tattvavetta. In logic, that's why, you know, even her husbands and Duryodhan and everyone were very annoyed with her because she could answer back. Logic was at her fingertips, Tarkashastri. And she was a great beauty. And she had a sense of humor. And she had the grit and the guts to endure years and years of hardships. My goodness, what she went through. So this woman sat on my head for nearly 6 years and said, Sonal, 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 Sonal.
And you had to depict her.
I had to do something with her. I am not yet finished with her. No.
You haven't?
No. Because that one was the beginning.
Yes.
You know, you always begin. And every work of mine, major work, is in progress.
Work in progress.
Yeah. It's never finished. Because then I'll be finished. As I grow, I see Draupadi from different angles.
Yes.
I read more about her, I think more about her. And in that Draupadi, for example, what I did was to elongate certain moments.
Yes.
Because Vedavyas, and again, you know, Utpal, a very interesting thing when we talk about the mystique of creation and of Indian dance, it allows you the space, a large, a magnificent space of your own, to say Vedavyasa's Draupadi may not be my Draupadi. Jayadeva's Radha may not be my Radha. My Radha is my Radha. My Draupadi is my Draupadi. And nobody can question me. That's the beauty. So there's part of the mystique also. So I elongated moments, and I thought that Vedavyasa also just mentions that after the Swayamvara, she follows Bhima and Arjun, who have fought off all the kings, you know, who pounced on them. And they are walking towards that Kumhar Tola, where they had a humble hut, where Yudhishthir and Nakul and Sahadev have already reached much before and have given the news to Kunti, the mother. Here I am imagining what Draupadi must be thinking, the princess at one moment, next moment walking on that unmade path, behind this magnificent Yodha, Arjun, watching his back move,
Yes.
undulating muscles, and this young Shodashi, this young Draupadi, what dreams she must be dreaming.
Right.
And then, as they approach that cottage, and everything has been set up. It was a setup.
Was it?
Of course, it was a setup. And Arjun is saying, we brought something, Ma, something special. And she, in full knowledge, answers, share it equally between you. Bhunkte ti sametya sarve.
In full knowledge.
Because when Yudhishthir has informed her, see, this is the creativity, the creative mystique I'm talking about,
Yes.
that I visualize the whole thing. Vedavyasa doesn't have to tell us every word. That space is available to me. That Yudhishthir, when he has informed mother, Kunti as a very experienced, clever mother, has seen the jealousy and the sense of deprivation in his voice and his eyes. He is the eldest.
Yeah.
He is not married. And so she has to quickly think about something that will keep the 5 brothers together and not create fissures.
So it was a diplomatic move.
It was a diplomatic move, and now I'm thinking of Draupadi with all the dreams, young dreams, coming there, and then to be told, share equally. And then too, Arjun doesn't say anything. And all the 5 brothers are looking at her, this coveted, beautiful prize, which they are now going to enjoy equally. What must have, it was like a Vajrapat, lightning.
To Draupadi.
Yes, I put myself there. What would I feel?
True.
So that moment, what would have gone in her head? Should she return? Should she answer back? Should she refuse? Should she ask Arjun? What would happen?
Yeah.
So such things have,
You mentioned in passing, Sonal, that Draupadi was very logical. She had a razor-sharp mind. This is an aspect which we don't really know much about. What made you come across that point?
Are Baba Utpal da, when Yudhishthir, the Jugari I call him,
Okay.
I have no great respect for Yudhishthir. Sorry, I have to publicly own it up.
Okay.
Knowing his weaknesses, he still goes to play not once but a second time.
Yes.
If I know my weakness, that I can't stand on one foot, why should I try to do Vrikshasana and Tadasan in public, and fall on my face? Why?
Yes.
He goes, he plays, and the man has the durbuddhi to pawn his wife. And that to the common wife. She's not alone his wife.
No.
She's the wife of the 5 brothers. He never took their consent. And he pawns his wife. Duryodhan never pawned his wife Bhanumati. And if you read the description in Mahabharata, how Yudhishthir describes Draupadi, what he is pawning as the last khel. Oh my God, I get the creeps. He describes her in full physical form. That this is what I'm measuring. Okay, the logic. So after having lost her, Duryodhana sends Pratikami, the messenger, to the inner quarters. Go and tell her to come to the court.
Get her.
She asks Pratikami to go
Okay.
and asks Duryodhan whether she was lost before or after.
Okay.
After Yudhishthir also has lost himself and the brothers in the game, then last again he pawns, where he has no right to do so.
Yeah.
Once you are a slave, then you owe nothing. So Pratikami is shaken, he comes back and reports. So Duryodhan says, clever woman, they all knew about her mind, her sharp intelligence, intellect. And now goes Dushasan. He drags her to the court.
Simple.
And now in front of the court, if you read, she poses these questions. and nobody is able to answer her. And from this simple question, whether she was lost before or after, she has asked, what is dharma? Nobody is able to answer her. What is dharma? Until today, Utpalda, let me also say, till today, we read about these incidents day after day. Molestations, harassment, torture, rape. Questions are raised, but till today, has anybody been able to answer the basic question? What is right, what is wrong? Is this dharma? So when I performed this for the MPs, Shivraj Patil was speaker. He asked me to perform, come into it in the Parliament House Annex C. Couple of my friends were there. They said they saw the MPs, most of them cringing when I'm asking, बताएं आप सब धर्म क्या है, ये क्या है, वो क्या है. Draupadi is demanding answers, and even Bhishma is not able to answer. So her logic, her mind, her sharp intellect, combined with that peerless beauty, made her a very intimidating woman. And so the mystique for me is in trying to unravel layers.
The way, Sonal, you explained about Draupadi, you must have gone through Mahabharata as a text with a tooth comb. Do you always do that? You look at the text like, say, another very important and very interesting item that you put up was Shiva Sringara. Now that was Kumar Sambhavam. How did you hit upon that idea?
I was invited for the Kalidasa Samaroh in Ujjain, where I've danced solo many times. Draupadi was also a solo dance theatre, but occasionally I have danced and invited people in a group or whatever. So I said, why not Kumara Sambhavam, Kalidas? I've done Ritu Samhar, I've done Malavikagnimitram, Shakuntalam. Even from Kumara Sambhavam, I've done solo.
Okay.
This time I just said, let's see if we can do the dance drama thing. And then I didn't want to again do the same things that everyone does. It's mostly the marriage of Shiva Parvati, and there they stop. They go before that, Sati Dahana, and Parvati Aparna, meditating and wanting Shiva as the husband, her penance. And then it usually stops with the marriage. I, as a mature dancer and a mature woman, I'm interested in the filigree of emotions.
Okay.
And where they don't dare, I dare. So the real interest comes after the marriage. Parvati is depicted as a very shy, new bride. And Shiva is Shiva. And how he molds shy bride into a lover who experiences, enjoys and relishes the love play. And that's Shiva Parvati, the parents of the world, of the creation, of the universe. Jagata Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwaro. It's their love. And so I said, let's see. It's something, it's something amazing. And then first time I tried with Kudiyattam. That's what in Ujjain we called Margi Madhu, and he was Shiva, I was Parvati. And somehow Kudiyattam, he's very nice, but it didn't have the grandeur that is demanded by Kumara Sambhavam and Shiva. So I asked my old friend Sadanam Balakrishnan-ji, with whom I've done many previous choreographies, and he immediately agreed. He came, and this creation came about. Then it grew. Before he came also, I had set up the choreographies for Nandi, for the Ganas. So I distributed the characters also equally, that the parents, Himavan and Menavati and Shiva, are all Kathakali.
Yes.
and Parvati and the Sakhis, companions are Odissi. And Nandi and the Ganas are Chau. So basically Kathakali and Odissi and the two orchestras. It was quite a sort of an interesting challenge, because Kathakali Odissi we've done before, but this storyline, it came out well, and I think we enjoyed it and the audiences enjoyed it, because
absolutely, we relished it.
The restraint, even while depicting intense Shringar, that can only be done by very mature dancers. Otherwise, you can descend into.
No, what was the most interesting part, Sonal, was a woman teaching a man, and not just an ordinary man, Shiva, the intricacies of lovemaking and the intimacies of romanticism.
Oh,
I mean, that was the best part of it.
Is that how it came about?
Yes, it did.
Oh my goodness, it was supposed to be the other way.
Right. Shiva was supposed to be the novice,
yeah,
the uninitiated.
Yeah.
Very well done. But you have also been making another point, Sonal, that Radha, for you, is someone very different from Jayadeva's Radha. This is another woman character. How you have visualized the text and taken it out of Jayadeva's and visualized your Radha?
See, Radha, I just said Jayadev because we very often dance the Gita Govind.
Yeah.
But there's Radha of Chandidas and Vidyapati and Surdas and everyone.
Yeah.
So my point is that everybody's Radha is their own Radha, my Radha is my Radha. Which is not to say that I've created a new character. Radha is there. But how I vibe with her, how I make her my own, and how I then bring her out and present to the audience, that changes completely. Now, for example, the Gita Govinda, Yahi Madhava, Yahi Keshava, Mavada Kaitava Vadam, the famous Ashtapadi. Krishna comes very late in the morning, crack of dawn, she's waiting, and she sees all the discoloration and all the signs of his having romantic liaison with another woman. She's distraught and says, "Go away, Madhav, go away, Keshav. Don't utter lies. Mavada Kaitava Vadam, all the deceitful words." And Krishna goes away. And then Krishna is very remorseful. Now, I used to, I never felt shy of interacting with scholars. That has been one of my strong points in my career, that I seek them out, and I like to ask, I like to learn, I like to put my views forward, and we have a dialogue. From there also come a lot of points emerge, So, my mentor, Jeevan Paniji, yeah, we had huge fights over this, because he said Krishna is Paramatma, Radha is Jivatma. I said, how do I know that Radha is not Paramatma and Krishna is not Jivatma? What is the argument?
Okay.
Actually, this kind of hierarchy should not exist, to me. So there also I differ. Then, go away Krishna, go away this and go away that. According to a lot of people, Radha is very remorseful. But according to the text, Krishna is remorseful. And then when he comes back, Krishna is saying that I place my head at your feet and place your tender foot on my head. Yeah. Lot of, Jayadev leaves it there. And then his shlokas say that at that point Radha felt very, shy and picked him up, and then they were together. But I said, what is Krishna asking for? My basic question has been, what is it that brings Krishna at Radha's feet? Let us answer that. It is not just a man asking for forgiveness. Then you can, I'm so very sorry, galti ho gayi, maaf karna, like men do today.
Right.
This is Krishna. And he is at Radha's feet. What he is asking for is the Shaktipat.
You interpret it that way.
Of course. And he says that. If you read the text minutely, this is what he says. That to bring me back to life, place your tender feet. Smara garala khandanam mama shirasi mandanam dehi pada pallava mudaram. That is the famous line. But what goes on before and after that text is clearly mentioned. See, Shaktipat has been a very important concept in India.
This is captivating.
That Guru's Shaktipat, and if you notice that every time is a Stri, the Mahila, the Nari, the woman, who is the Shakti? She is Shakti incarnate. Without her, Krishna remains divided. With her, he becomes undivided. With the Shaktipat, he comes back to life. And that is where, if I don't know if you've read it, but very interestingly, I've also done this Shankaracharya's Saundarya Lahari. That is also where he says that Bhagavati Devi is seated and Shankar Shiv comes slinking in with the Ganga hiding in his jata, the other woman, and knowing that she is annoyed with him, he is bowing at her feet and she kicks his forehead with her foot, right foot. And at that time, the Kati Mekhala, you know, the girdle here with all the golden bells, is tinkling away as if Kamadeva, who was burned to ashes by Shiva and is seated on her hips, is laughing to see, Are Shiva, तूने मुझे जला दिया, अब तेरी अवस्था मैं देख रहा हूँ. You are kicked by Bhagavati. Kundalinyam vivarjita Shiva imam shavam yati. Without the Kundalini Shakti, without the Ikara, even Shiva becomes Shava, which is a corpse. This is exactly. So Radha and all these, my Radha is my Radha. She is a Shakti, she is the Hladini Shakti, she is the giver, she is the lover, she is Anandeshwari, Anandarupeshwari, Golokeshwari, Krishneshwari, Ishwari of Krishna.
But you took up another theme and also played it so well with very dimensions like Panchakanya, and you put even puppetry into it. What was your idea of having that kind of a text and the meta text which you have?
Oh my God, Panchakanya is another thing which is so misunderstood because people don't go to the main text. It's either Valmiki Ramayana or the Mahabharata, the 5 Kanyas. They don't even understand what is Kanya, the word. See, today, Utpalda, the problem is that we have gone far away from our own languages. See, we are proficient in English, but my mother tongue is Gujarati. I've learned Hindi and Sanskrit from my childhood, and I hold it absolutely without any argument. Sanskrit is the key to understand India. That is the Jiva. So, if we don't understand the words, they say, Hari, Draupadi, 5 husbands? How can she be a Kanya? Are Baba, Kanya is not Kumari. They're 2 different words. Kumari is unmarried woman, girl. Kanya, I asked so many people and then hit upon this. You have to go to the root of the word, always. Like Sonal, my name comes from Swarna, Swarnil, and in the Gujarati lingo, it becomes Sonal. Kanya has the root kan, from shining, from which comes the word kanaka, gold, another word for gold. So, she who is luminous, self-effulgent, self-contained, her identity does not depend upon any husband, any father, anyone. She is Kanya.
That is Kanya.
So Panchakanya, so the Kanyas are all now. Ahalya, अरे उसको लात मारा, राम ने पैर रखा उसका सर पे, जिंदा हो गई. What rubbish! Ram is a Kshatriya of Ikshwaku Kula, Suryavanshi. He is a Maryada Purushottam. Would he place his foot on the head of a Brahmagyani, a woman? Never. What Valmiki Ramayana says is, Vishwamitra shows Ahalya, who is in deep penance, tells Ram and Lakshman, go and touch her feet, take her blessings. At the touch of Ram at her feet, she comes back to life. This is the real story. And so, I somehow feel that one of my missions in life has been to carry the real import, the real meaning, the real significance, the depth, the spiritual space, where I want to include as many as possible, to share the insights and the joy of that insight. See, when you understand that, Maryada Purushottam, kya baat hai? And he'll go and pair rakhega iske sar pe. And Ahalya has been described by Valmiki as Brahmagyani and the Manas Putri of Brahma. So likewise, you know, that the Kanyas Tara, Kunti, Mandodari and Draupadi, and each one represents an element among the 5 elements, na? Panchatattva. Ahalya is Akash. What Tara is Vayu. Kunti is Prithvi. Her name is Prithvi. Kunta, Pritha. Her name is Pritha. And Mandodari is water, Jala. And Draupadi is Agni. So it's been a great joy for me to unravel the mysteries of all these stories and kathas and legends. And there is so much behind it, Utpal, that we have not even scratched the surface.
You did another most interesting thing in the Lavanyavati of the Kavi Samrat Upendra Bhanjar's thing. I mean, so hailed with such respect in Odisha. What made you hit upon that idea of doing this kind of a poetry?
Upendra Bhanjar is very popular. You know, his wordplay, alliterations, and of course the beauty of ideas. No, not just Champus Utpal. They are Gitas. Okay. But Champus is separate, that is Radha Krishna. But Lavanyavati is a secular theme. She is a princess. And he is describing her life cycle. So begins with her babyhood, her childhood, and how she grows into a Kishori, adolescent, and then a young woman, and then the new bride, and then what happens. So I took these 4 stages basically. And what was very beautiful was that now I want to tell you about the music, because Odissi music has not been explored the way it deserves to be. To my mind, it definitely is a pakka system of music in its own right. So Lavanyavati, these 4 stages, they inspired 4 different ragas taken from Sangeeta Ratnakara, which are popular still in Odisha in the Janamanas. There are so many songs that, you know, women sing even today in villages and towns, but they don't know that it is Prathama Manjari. They don't know it is Karnat. They don't know it is Amra Panchama. But the melodies are there. Now melodies are there, we found them in Sangeeta Ratnakara. With the Arohan, Avrohan, Jivaswara, Dhyana Shloka, everything. And then this idea came to Jivandami and Bankim Sethi, my colleague, the great musician, 35 years now that we've been working together. So we set the 4 ragas to the 4 different stages. Now that was not enough. To make it more tough and complex, what we did was that Karnat is the first raga for the baby. But towards the end, it goes to Amra Panchama. Amra Panchama goes into Prathama Shri. Shri goes into Prathama Manjari. Prathama Manjari goes into Karnat. And in each, there are 4 stages. Oh my God! You know, it's like a Rubik cube. But what a gem! What a gem! And I think to date that it is one of the toughest compositions that I've made. Yeah, it's a challenge.
When you say you have made the toughest composition,
One
there
of
are
them.
plenty of things that one wants to ask you and one is tempted to ask you. How do you take a composition in terms of its not merely content, the text part of it, but also in terms of its music that you explained so eloquently, but in terms of the costume, the colors, even the stage design, which you put so much attention to? What plays in your minds?
Yeah, oh my God. And sometimes I wish that I didn't have this kind of a mind. because it just creates more problems for me.
Multidimensional.
Yeah, for me. Music is, hand in hand. Dance music. If the music is not appropriate, then I think the flavor, the essence of dance doesn't blossom, doesn't come. For example, the Gita Govind. Now, I had heard and you have heard, and Gita Govind is being sung in Odisha by so many, in Manipuri, in Kathakali, in the temple of Guru Vayur, everywhere, Srinatha Dwara, in all the dance forms also. Sometimes I think that poor Jayadeva must be wincing. Chandana charchita neela kalevara pita vasana vanamali. Ah, what a description of Krishna. Keli chalanmani kundala mandita ganda yugasmita shali. And there, if they take Pantu Varali in Carnatic music, which is a sad, pining, pensive rag, oh, my Krishna is wilting away. So, music is very important, and therefore, when I play with an idea, music is integral to it. It doesn't happen one after another, it is together.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, because I had the opportunity of learning music, both Hindustani and Carnatic, for years, I create also.
Your own music?
My own music, yes.
You do?
Yes. You can ask Bankim ji. Half the time it is my ideas, his ideas, we work together.
Okay.
But I never like to claim that it's my music, because when you give me an idea now, that idea plays, I see the images, and the melody, the tune comes. So music has to be appropriate. Music has to sit with dance as rose and the essence. And we have created, all my music is very different. Not only of Gita Govind, Draupadi, that music was done by me. And Shubha Mudgalji came to sing. And then later, of course, it was propagated that she made the music. She was there just for 2 days, but never mind. What I'm saying is that, what is the mood? What is the character saying? What is the situation? The demands of all that creates that music. So, for example, you asked me Shiva Shringar, Kumarasambhavam.
Yeah.
Now, how the Kathakali music would blend into the Odissi music and gel and be seamless and yet retain its own identity. Or my later, Jara and other, so many compositions are there. Or Lavanyavati, as I said, or even my Ashtapadis. The Sampurna Gita Govind, which I danced last year at the museum in Bombay. That time Bankim ji, one year he was away for family reasons. The entire music was done by me, where we even took the in-between shlokas. So I think I've been very fortunate. It's like two eyes, they create one vision.
What about costume?
What about costume, Utpal? I wish.
What about the stage set? I mean, you spend so much time and attention and lavish so much of care on these aspects.
I lavish care, but I don't like lavish settings.
No.
They have to be minimal, elegant, simple, so that dance comes out as the gem. Just like you put a diamond on a tray of black velvet. That is how the dance should emerge. And I absolutely abhor banners and things at the back. That is absolutely a no-no. The Rangamancha, the sacred space, is meant for art and the creation, what we call the mystique, the mystery of creation, whether it is of Srishti or of Nritya. They are both the same. Therefore, Nataraja Shiva again.
Yeah.
They both are same. And I did bring in the first idea of a stage manager.
Yeah.
So as a solo dancer and lighting. So I remember that our late lamented dance critic Subuduji, he was inspired to write that when other dancers can make do with halogen lights, what is this newfangled idea of Sonal Mansingh, you know, making all the colored lights and wanting this and that and all.
Yeah.
So I did. I had a manager for three decades. I always have. Now, of course, it has become common for every dancer, which I'm very glad. Why should dance be just thrown on the stage like that? Why? It's a visual treat. Now, even if you put a diamond or a beautiful jarao jewelry here like that, it loses its value. Number two, where is the respect and dignity of the art form? Why not respect it? If for music you need the best sound system and the dais with flowers and agarbatti, and the dance is to be thrown on any kind of stage, muddy, dirty, dusty, banners hanging, some loose wires hanging. What is this? So I think we have to learn, still go a long way, Utpal. I'm not happy with the situation even today.
In terms of presentations.
In terms of presentation, the exits, the entries. Because the minute there is half a step on the stage, you are in the public domain.
Exactly.
You are not you. You are representing a great art form. You are in the chain of a great link of performers. Why forget that? So that is one. And another thing that I knew, but which I introduced, was the commentary. Way back in 1962, I started giving lecture demonstrations, and my first leg dem was at the USIS, United States Information Service in Bombay, and that started the trend slowly. But leg dem is one thing. Another thing is introducing your own items.
Yeah.
Why take anyone for granted? Open a little window. Take them into confidence. Let them not feel, you know, left out. And it does no harm to anyone to know 2 more things about what they are watching. Go back home enriched. That also has now taken on in a big way. So I'm very happy about it.
On the whole.
Yeah.
In terms of the creativity that you have talked about earlier, you have been going from theme to theme, from idea to idea. What makes you hop and jump so fast and so well and also so elegantly?
Hopping.
You don't stick to a specific items. Most dancers do Bharatanatyam items and Odissi items, but you are bent on creativity of themes, thematic approach.
Yeah, well, as I said, that, you know, when one is learning, I'm still learning, but, you know, from a guru, then of course you stick to that repertory.
Yeah.
Margam in Bharatanatyam, Margam in Odissi. But that Margam in Odissi or Bharatanatyam also came out of a certain tradition, longer tradition.
True.
And there are changes. As you grow, you need to play with your own ideas. You need your space. Like children, when they grow up, they hardly want to remain with their parents. They want their own space and time and their own speed. So every dancer, thinking dancer, has to grapple with this demand from within.
What is dance to you?
Ayo.
How do you dance?
Utpal, I think you are turning my inside out.
We want to know the real Sonal, the personal Sonal.
Well, I don't even know myself, I must admit. But what is dance to me? One answer or one response would be that I still want 7 more births in this land.
Great.
To dance. Then at the end of the 7th birth, I may be able to tell you what dance means to me. Now, at this moment, I can only say, Utpal, the dance is at the core of my being.
Okay.
I cannot imagine me in this birth without dance. What reason would I have to live if not dance? I don't know.
In passing, you earlier mentioned about spiritual space. Do you have a religion?
Yes.
And how do you profess it?
Through dance?
Through dance?
Yep.
How do you profess it? How do you manifest it? How do you grapple with it?
I believe in, of course, the great power. I believe in the many manifestations of that power. I love to watch and be a part of that great cosmic play. I'm aware that what I'm saying now is also part of that scheme. How the words come out, from where they come out, who chooses the words, huh?
Yeah, okay.
And religion. Religio, to know in Greek. To know what?
Yeah.
To know what? That is the big question. To know yourself, know thyself. Okay, well said. What? How? What is the process? That is my religion. To decipher the process of coming to know myself even this much, and to share this much of me with the world. It is not to be put in a dabbi.
Okay.